Hello everyone, my name is Jordan, also known as X-3. Today I have what's known as an auto bass. This auto bass sounds like a Reese bass, even though we do a lot of FM frequency, and we don't detune anything at all. So I'm going to show you how to create this FM Reese bass. And then, yeah, so have a listen. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is throw in a combinator. It doesn't really matter what tempo you have it as, just as long as you get the desired sound. So inside of this combinator, I want to throw in Thor. Thor is really great. We're going to set Thor on mono retrig. What this will allow the synth to do is every time a note is played, it's not going to play multiple notes. It's just going to play one note over the other like this. Like that. So other than that, we're going to use basically oscillator 1 and oscillator 3 to modulate oscillator 2 to get a completely different resulting sound. But the only thing we need to do for the filter is just turn it off. And the only thing we're going to route is number 2. So for my first analog oscillator, I'm going to leave it like it is because we don't need to mess with it. The second analog oscillator, which is probably going to be the most valuable thing, is a wavetable. We don't move it off basic analog, and we don't move it off anything else except the position. So I want to take this to 36. Has to be 36. The reason why is so that way when this position of the waveform starts, it's going to start at a different starting point rather than the beginning. It's going to start somewhere in the middle or somewhere at the end. So to basically tidy up this synth and to get cracking on our mod bus is throw in for the last oscillator another analog and set it to a sine and take it down 2 octaves. Okay, so now that we have this, I'm basically going to turn up my sustain on my attack envelope all the way so we don't lose anything over time, like it stays static. So 2 last final things, and that is we're going to turn the shaper on. We're going to turn the balance all the way to the right since we're not using oscillator 1 at all. We're just going to use it as a routing signal. Turn it to warp and set it at 3/4 of the way right. Turn this down. Okay, so now that we have this like quirky sounding synth, we still need to have it stereo width so that way we can experience this full rather than just little bit, you know? Okay, so turn on your delay. Take the time all the way down to like 15 or 7 milliseconds, and the dry wet and the feedback about 1/4 as well. And turn on the chorus. And for the chorus, you don't need to mess with any of the dry wet or anything. Just take the delay all the way down to 2.1 milliseconds or even to about 3 milliseconds. So this kind of gives it a little bit more width. So now for the fun part, we're going to turn for our first source and our mod bus to be oscillator 1, and the amount is going to be 26, and the destination is going to be our oscillator 2 filter frequency. We're not quite done. We still need to have another modulation, so we're going to turn on oscillator 3 for our first source. For the destination, you guessed it, oscillator 2. That's in the wrong slot. And watch what happens when I turn up the amount to 32. it turns into a totally different synth. It sounds very rattled and distorted. This is the power of the oscillator 3 and the oscillator 1 on very simplistic waveforms modulating the sound. It just sounds pretty sweet. So other than that, we're going to close this up. And since we're not quite done with the synth, we still need to turn it into a Reese bass. So to do that, we need to distort it a little bit. So throw on a Scream 4 distortion. Take it to tape for your distortion destination. Take your damage all the way down to about like 40 or 41. Take your P1 up all the way, and your P2, just turn that to about 40 or something like that. Don't need to mess with the cut or the body, but hit tab to flip it over, and we're going to basically do something that we don't normally do, which is to take the out of the CV and plug it into our amp envelope. This just gives the synth a little bit more crunch since we're feeding it more CV power than the amp can handle. So this gives us a nice distortion. To turn it into a Reese, this is where it gets interesting. You throw on a unison, but for the unison, you want to take the dry wet back to about 93. And for the detune, leave it there. Now this is more of a space echo, but space unison respace. But the only two things we need to, actually the only three things we need to do to maximize this synth is to finish it off by throwing it on a BV512 vocoder, set it to 4 bands, equalize, and turn up your +1 shift all the way. If you want something a little bit darker, just take it to -1 all the way. But I like my synth to open up all the way, so I turn it to +1. Very different sounds. So what I'm going to do now is throw in an M-class equalizer, because if you have a kick, a lot of the range for this synth is mids and highs, but it's still frequency on the low end. So the thing you need to do is turn on P1, take your frequency down to about 117 and take the gain all the way down. And the Q, just leave it where it is, it's perfectly fine. The second thing I want to do is go down to my 312 to 625 Hertz, somewhere in that range. So about 405 Hertz, turn up your Q, or actually your gain, to 6. And take your Q down to about 2.5. This slowly reduces some of the noise from the low end, but still gives it a little bit more crunch. You can even set this to somewhere in a 625, in between 625 and 1.2 kilohertz. It'll still sound fine when it's there. But I notice my highs are a little bit lacking, so when I turn on my high shelf, take the frequency as low as it can go, turn up your gain by like 3 decibels, and take your Q up all the way. So now we have more ringiness, but this is still very, very loud, so I want to take this down a bit. That sounds a little bit better. So now just throw on your maximizer, take it off limiter, put your release to auto, turn on your soft clip, and set the amount to 127. And this gives it a nice rounding edge rather than being limited. I'll show you what it's like being limited first, and then the soft clip. So it just takes that nice rounding edge. So there you guys have it, a FM bass with a lot of grit, and if you want to use the Reese, you can just turn it off. Or if you want to use it, turn it on. So thanks for joining me for something a little bit different. I didn't plan on doing this, but anyways, yeah. I'll see you guys tomorrow for Triple Threat Thursday, and we're going to be 3 different sounds. So yeah. Thanks for following me, I really do appreciate it, and have a good one. Peace. Hey, what's up, y'all? So I wanted to say thank you guys so much for watching these videos. They really do help me. And oh yeah, one other thing, I want to say thank you guys so much. So other than that, I've been having a pretty good day. So yeah, I'll just try and keep up the good work like I've been doing. And as always, you'll receive a video every single day. And I'll try and do something else, something different, something new every day. So yeah, thanks for joining me. I do appreciate it, and I hope you guys have a good one. Also, one more thing, I want to say thanks for just being you. Have a good one. Peace.